All right, what is going on, guys? Today, this is an NRL contract, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what is inside. So if you're new here, please make sure you do subscribe to the channel, like this video. We drop videos, we drop podcasts all around the greatest game of all, rugby league. Now, this contract was my last ever contract signed in the NRL. So my last season last year, season 2025, and most contracts are all pretty much exactly the same. Obviously, the key differences around like some of the conditions, obviously the money, and then the options and things that are negotiated as well. They're the kind of differences, but everything else is 95% exactly the same. So front page, obviously here, club, Eastern Suburbs, District Rugby League Club. This was obviously with the Roosters. Seasons 2025. Now this is where you'd have like season, if you sign a 4-year deal, it would have 26, 27, and 28. And then here your option years, if there's a player option or there's a club option or there's a mutual option. So obviously if there's a player option, then the player has the ability to pick up that year, or he can decline that and become a free agent. Club option, well, the club makes that decision. And then the mutual option is where they both have to make the decision together. So sometimes that is basically around when if a player picks it up if a player chooses to pick it up, it's at this amount. If a club chooses to pick it up, then it's at this amount. So I never actually had a mutual option in my career. I had a player option, and that was the option that when I was at the Sharks in 2021, I had an option to stay the following year, and effectively I was a free agent, and I declined that option and then became a free agent and then signed with the Cowboys. So I think player options it gives you security and also gives you flexibility around to sort of check out what's out there in the market. And obviously there's been a lot made around some of the clauses and player options in contracts like Jerome Luai's contract, I'm pretty sure Tino, and obviously the Dylan Brown Parramatta contract, I'm pretty sure had a stack of player options. So yeah, it's a negotiation tool to give players some flexibility. Players agent, Chris Orr. I did my whole career with Chris Orr and Gavin Orr at Pacific Sports Management. Now, one of the interesting things with an NRL contract is you'll see here, I've initialed this contract, and this is an actual executed contract. I have initialed every single page of this contract, and there is 56 pages. So yeah, let's get into it. I don't want to bore you guys and go through absolutely everything today, obviously, because there are a lot of things in these contracts that just are quite boring. But obviously there's some interesting stuff as well, which I think you guys may take a lot out of. So let's start with the obligation. Literally your obligation when you sign an NRL contract is that the player agrees to, whenever and wherever reasonably required and to the best of his ability and skill, play the game for the club in the NRL competition. Like, that's as simple as it is. You need to play the game to the best of your ability. That's your obligation as an NRL player. It's a pretty cool thing when you can sort of simplify it like that. Obviously, there's other things in here with regards to NRL player welfare rules, NRL operations manual, NRL testing policy, and illicit and hazardous drugs, and stuff about the club medical officer. We'll keep moving on. Obviously, there's stuff around the media coverage, some clauses here. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of small clauses that, I don't want to bore you guys with. Move into some publicity and sponsorship. So obviously, there's clauses around what you can and can't do with like your sponsorship and your IP. Use by the club of player property. The player grants the club for the duration of the employment term a license to use the license and to license the use of his player IP. So you as a player basically sign over your right to your club to use your face and your image. So that's why you see all the clubs obviously using their big dogs in all their billboards and all their marketing and everything like that, where the players don't get paid for that. So there's a lot of, I think, a long ways to go, in my opinion, with that type of stuff. Like I think the players are a little bit ripped off with some of that stuff, with regards to the big dogs, you know, using their face and their name all the time around their license and their IP, and them not getting money for that certain aspect of what it is. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, there's a pretty big shift in college football at the moment with the NIL and those guys making money off their name, image, and likeness. Let's move on. Club's general obligations. During the employment term, the club will use its best endeavours to provide an opportunity to the player to train for the game, either with a team in the NRL competition or with another team in relation to which the club has an affiliation or association. What else? Playing fee. Subject to the provisions of this agreement, the club will pay the player the playing fee calculated by reference to Schedule 1, superannuation. Now this superannuation, the club will make superannuation contributions calculated by reference to Schedule 1 and to this agreement to a superannuation fund agreed by the parties, or if there was no agreement, to a superannuation fund nominated by the club. Now, one of the things that you guys may not know is we're employees of the clubs as players. If you're an employee, you get paid superannuation. Now, as NRL players, we pay superannuation out of our contract. So we don't get superannuation on top; it comes out of the contract. So if you sign for 100,000, like you get 100,000, you take out your management fees. Obviously, you take out your tax. You take out your superannuation. So obviously, there's a few things that sort of come out before your money actually hits the account. Pay slips. So on the making of any payments under this agreement, the club will provide to the player a pay slip on which particulars of the date, nature, amount and manner of calculation, the amount of each such payment is recorded. So most clubs pay on the 15th or the 30th of every month. You get paid monthly as an NRL player. I do have a couple of pay slips I think I could show you guys in another video, and how that's sort of broken down with regards to your tax, your management fees, and things like that, because that's pretty interesting, and it's always a good time when you get paid, when the money hits your account. And I always used to laugh because usually you get paid at December time on like the 22nd before everyone goes on break, and then from like the 22nd to like you don't get paid till obviously like the 30th of January. So there's like 5 weeks, and so I used to laugh because some of the guys would just be like hanging out to get paid at that time of the year. There's some stuff around career-ending injuries and what that looks like, non-career ending injuries, other injuries, and all the definitions around what that looks like. Termination for breach. The player shall throughout the employment term faithfully observe and comply in all respects with the terms of this agreement. Obviously that stuff's pretty serious, you know what I mean? You want to get your behaviour right. Notice by the club, conduct of hearing. When the club proceeds to pursue subclause 8.3, a hearing before the board, the player shall be entitled to be represented by counsel, a solicitor or other representative. Release of a player, notwithstanding any provision of this agreement, and whether the club is entitled to terminate this agreement, clause 5.2, otherwise the club may at any time release the player from his obligations under this agreement upon providing written notice to the player to that effect. Fines and advances, let's keep moving on. Disputes, there's insurance. The player authorises the club to arrange and pay for hospital and medical benefits insurance on his behalf from the payments due to him under this agreement and the club. So that's one of the big changes that happened over the course of the CBA. The clubs used to pay for health insurance, and then with regards to some of the wins we got in the CBA, that was then shifted to the players. So that's another thing that comes out of the players' pay, your health insurance, which I think may change next CBA. We'll see. There's some things around ticketing, travel, and accommodation. So as a player, you get 6 tickets to every game, and I'm pretty sure to like the Origin games and the Australian games and international games. I'm pretty sure it's very similar. Suspension of a player, intentional assault, contracting with another club, and cooling off. Contracting with another club if during the employment term the player enters into an NRL playing contract and or an NRL short form contract with another club with respect to any period commencing after the expiry of the employment term, the NRL playing contract and or NRL short form contract, as the case may be, must be entered into and lodged with the salary cap auditor. Obviously the cooling off period as well, which is happening probably at the moment with some of the Perth Bears signing. Yes, prevailing agreement, warranties, acknowledgements, indemnity, confidentiality, terms to be kept confidential. The terms of this agreement are confidential and shall not be disclosed by either party to any person or entity other than the NRL. So obviously that doesn't happen with, people out there, whatever it may be, whether it's agents, journalists, everyone kind of finds out, around the ballpark figures of what's in a contract and obviously the terms and etc. Leave entitlements. So here, it's got you get 8 days leave for sickness per annum. I don't think I ever took a sick day. To be honest, I can't remember ever being sick, or I don't know, normal people chuck a sickie. I didn't ever chuck a sickie over the course of my career. In that instance, you have to obviously make contact with the club doctor, and obviously, if you are actually sick, for example, make contact with the club doctor, let them know what's going on, and then they can sort of help you out. 3 days leave on the death of a spouse, parent, or step parent, and a maximum of 5 days parental leave. So you get 5 days parental leave. Again, I had 4 kids while I was playing NRL. I didn't take 1 day leave I did. I took, I think it was like 2 days in 2022 after we beat the Sharks in the first final in week 1. I stayed back in Sydney, had a baby, and then went back up. So I missed like 2 days of training, so because we had the week off. 6 weeks annual leave per annum, commencing from the date of the player's last match. So that's actually changed now. Rookies get 7 weeks leave. So if you've done less than 5 pre-seasons, you get 7 weeks leave. If you've done more than 5 pre-seasons, you get 9 weeks leave. Obviously, mandatory day off. The clubs ensure that the player has a complete break of at least 1 day off each week during the employment term. Mandatory days off. Now, obviously, that's a pretty big fight for some clubs in and around pre-season because the schedules are so jam-packed with training. In season's a bit easier because you can schedule some days during the week. You're not doing as much training. What else we got here? Waivers, notices, definitions. And there's some definitions around disputes, doping, employment terms, feeder matches, final series, mediation rules, party, player, third party, and then here is the page where you actually sign the contract. So this is when you see like those photos of everyone sitting there smiling, signing the contract. That's a pretty cool moment. And then here, benefit or allowance, your private health insurance and what that costs, relocation allowance. So relocation allowance is something that sits outside the salary cap. So if you need to move to Queensland, you can negotiate a relocation allowance. Basically, it is a fee that will help you, pack up your house and move your family. And just a quick story, when I moved to North Queensland, I was already in Queensland with the NRL, with the bubble, and the borders were shut at that stage. So I didn't have the chance to go back to Sydney to my house to pack up my home and then get it all ready to go up to Queensland. And the Cowboys did a phenomenal job. They were so helpful. Obviously, they're in the business of, they do recruitment and bring guys in from outside the state, and they were like, don't worry, we'll handle everything. So they handled my whole house, got packed up for me, put together, shipped, and brought up to Townsville into North Queensland. So we were on the Gold Coast, we went on a holiday up north, and then we kept going to Townsville. So yeah, that obviously handles all like the stress of that situation. I think when you're moving, obviously it's quite big, and just to have that, it's usually around the $15,000 mark, that sort of fee, and it does sit outside the salary cap because it's, that's where it sits. So this is the most interesting page, your season playing fee. Now for me, I've actually blacked this out because I was like, I'm not really prepared to put the exact fee of what I was earning last year on camera and out there, but you guys can have a guess, and whatever you guess. I don't really know, but what I will say is, like, you see like the NRL top 50 rich list and everything like that, and all these numbers getting thrown out for players. Like, not once had I ever seen a number where I was in there, my contract was in there, that was like correct. So it's kind of, I guess it's similar or close to, but it's like it was still off. So I'll leave you with that. Obviously, you've got the season and then the amount of the fee you've negotiated. The fee includes leave entitlements, like I said, superannuation and fringe benefits tax. Then on this page over here, you've got like your agreements potentially with like, Nike and all that sort of stuff over there. As we move on, you've got arbitration rules. You've got... obviously that's pretty heavy stuff, arbitration. Not something I really jumped into that much. Then you've obviously got another pretty important page, obviously, where you sign signature of witness. You need to get a witness to witness all of your signatures. So it's obviously a binding contract. And then you've got here the last club I played with, a club in the NRL. And then here is another interesting page in the contract. So for this one, it's all about like the history and your eligibility of where you can play your representative football. So you've got to nominate your highest junior representation to date, whether that's secondary schools, rugby league, under 18s, under 20s, junior Kangaroos or Kiwis or state of origin, your country of birth, which country you elect to represent, your first parent's birthplace, your second parent's birthplace, your first grandparent's birthplace, your second grandparent's birthplace, third grandparent's birthplace, fourth grandparent's birthplace. So for me, I had everything Australia. My first grandparents' birthplace, so your mother's mother was born in New Zealand. So that was the old thing where Nathan Feen represented New Zealand because of his grandmother was born in New Zealand. And when I played for the Warriors early on in my career, I played there in 2014 and 2015. I'd obviously lived in New Zealand for 2 years, and there was a conversation I had around if I was interested in playing for the Kiwis, and I wasn't. It didn't really progress much at all. I'm an Aussie through and through, and I only wanted to sort of play if I was to ever, stick to Australia, which I never did, which is all good. Obviously, for state of origin, were you born in New South Wales or Queensland, and then whereabouts were you born as well? You need to nominate that. Have you resided in New South Wales or Queensland prior to your 13th birthday? Did your father play state of origin? The state you spent majority of years from under 6 to under 18. The state you spent the majority of years at school. Select the junior representative competition you first played in. For me, was Harold Matthews. For which state of Australia did you first play state school representative? That was New South Wales. You got to sign that and witness that as well. And then the next page is the remuneration declaration. So again, more signatures, more details, and then here again, you sign the page, and obviously you've got a JP that you need to witness the signature of an NRL contract. So that's pretty much it. Look, that's 56 pages of an NRL contract. Like I said, there is a lot of stuff in these NRL contracts, but the most interesting pages are obviously around, the playing fee. And look, I had some of the best moments in my life when I'd signed one of these. Obviously, my first one I'd ever signed as an NRL playing contract. I remember when I signed with the Warriors, that was pretty big for me. I remember signing that and how nervous I was moving over to New Zealand and relocating. And then when I'd signed to come back to the Sharks when we won the comp in 2016, that was really exciting for me. And obviously signing with the Cowboys, moving up there, signing with the Roosters as well. So yeah, it's a pretty cool moment. Obviously it's a pretty big negotiation when you're signing a contract with your agent and the clubs, and who's out there, what's the offers, how do we go about it all. But yeah, I think it's, it is a really exciting time. So I guess for players now, like we're past November, players can sign with new clubs for next year and the following year. And obviously we've got Perth in there as well. So look, I really just hope the players out there get what they want with regards to when they get their contracts. For me, I guess I actually, every year in my career, I earned more money every year up until my last year than I dropped in my last year. So over the course of my career, I never went up and then backwards. I always was like a slow, every year I kind of went up. And that's a really cool feeling for me because, I never really had that setback with regards to my contract or what I was doing there. So that was cool. And like I said, there's a lot of players out there. It's a pretty big moment. There's some young guys out there who will sign their first NRL contracts. Like it's a pretty big moment in your life. It's a dream come true when you get to sign an NRL contract. Obviously, you get to train full time. Your job is literally to train and play as an NRL player in the NRL competitions as a full-time professional athlete. And then obviously the money that comes with it. And I'll make another video around, I think, money and some financial decisions and, general advice that I would give. And this is not expert advice, but it's, a bit general. And if you want proper advice, go and see a financial planner. But yeah, these contracts, like there's some pretty big ones going out there, and there's some players who are going to earn more and more money as the years go on. And I think that with the CBA, the next negotiation, there'll be more money in the game than ever been before. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that video today, guys. It is it's an exciting one, and let us know what you think. Drop us a comment down below, like this video, and yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Let's go.